Okay, so we are going to get started. All right, so once again, welcome everyone. Hope that you're all finding yourselves well and healthy this morning and in a comfortable place. And so this is welcome to our virtual programming for the Lawrence Family Jewish Community Center, the Jacobs Family Campus. This morning's event, Guided Meditation on a Path From Confinement to Inner Spaciousness with Dr. Oded Shezifi, is a product of JLearn, which is the Adult Jewish Education Department at the San Diego Center for Jewish Culture. I am Lauren Lidke. I am the program coordinator for the JLearn department here at the J. And once again, I hope that you find yourselves healthy and in good spirits as you join us here today. We are now in about the 7th or 8th week of our virtual programming, which is incredible. And I want to assure everyone that as long as we are confined to our homes and we're doing our part to flatten the curve, the Lawrence Family JCC will be here to provide meaningful and engaging virtual Jewish cultural programming for everyone. And as all of us are acclimating to this new platform, I just wanted to go over a few pieces of Zoom protocol. So everyone is muted as we begin. If you have your video on, it is wonderful to see you, but please do remember that we can see you. So just be aware of that fact. And if you have any questions or comments during the program, please use either the chat function, or which is available. If you go to the very bottom of your screen, you will see a chat box. If you go there, you can put questions into the chat. They will go directly to me, the host. Or you also have the option, if you click on the participants button, which is located directly next to chat, you will have the option to raise your hand. It's a little blue hand symbol, and that will alert me to the fact that you have a comment or question, and I am then able to call on you or unmute you, and you can ask your question or pose a comment. And there will be a Q&A at the end, and so there will be an opportunity to give comments and to ask questions. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of the underwriters of the 2019-2020 JLearn season. It's their generosity that truly enables us to present events like today's, whether at our JCC or here virtually. So we're very grateful for their support. We have many programs taking place virtually over the next few days, and we'd like to just highlight a couple before we begin. So tomorrow evening, Dr. Lawrence Barron will be with us again for part 1 of his 3-part series on the great Jewish American female directors. Tomorrow night's lecture will be on Elaine May all the way to Barbara Streisand, and the program will begin at 7:30 p.m. We also will be leading our 6th Shabbat and Shmooze program this Friday at 4 p.m., the theme for which will be Lag Bomer and growing your good characteristics. Be sure to follow us online via Facebook or our virtual LFJCC page to see more. I will be adding the links to the comments section momentarily. And so this morning, Dr. Oded Shezifi, clinical psychologist, play therapist, supervisor, and certified Jewish mindfulness teacher, will be leading us in a guided meditation embedded in Jewish texts. So without further ado, I am so excited to welcome Oded. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Lauren. Shalom, everyone. Good morning. I would like to thank the Center for Jewish Culture for inviting me this morning. Welcome, everyone. It's going to be a joint. We are forming together a joint virtual space, and we're going to explore this morning together simple techniques to reduce stress and regulate our feelings during these challenging times of uncertainty. So in the next 40 minutes or so, we will engage in very simple mindfulness exercises that I will guide. There is nothing special you need to do. Just make sure that your microphone is muted. It's supposed to be muted so we don't get any kind of background noise. And if you encounter any difficulties hearing me, you can use the chat option to communicate with Lauren, and Lauren will help you with figuring out and solving this issue. So as Lauren said, at the end of the meeting, we will have time for Q&A and your comments. So I want to first start by acknowledging and emphasizing that this is totally normal these days to have many difficulties, emotional difficulties, such as excessive worrying, elevated anxiety, sleep or concentration challenges, hyper or hypo arousal. We are all under a lot of stress and pressure, and we have a good reason for the stress. So today, we are going to collaborate together and figure out simple ways to help us with reducing the stress, to liberate our minds. So what I will ask you now is to write into the chat box, to type in different activities that you find helpful these days to manage stress, to regulate your feelings. Anything. It can be like walking out, reading books, singing, cooking, and so forth. Anything that brings you comfort. And while you're writing into the chat box your answers, I want to let you know that today we are going to dedicate our joint efforts this morning to first responders all over the world and to the ones who are in need of healing, the ones who are impacted by COVID-19. So while you are typing, if you are typing in some of the answers, some of the activities that you find helpful these days, we are going to engage in our first exercise. It's going to be a very simple exercise. So it's an exercise of grounding, focusing. So what I would ask you to do is very simply to sit comfortably in your chair, your couch or sofa, and breathe 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Look around you, find yourself present in the space wherever you are. And we're going now to engage in a very simple exercise. If you'd like to join me, look at your palm. We are going to generate physical stress. Now, what's important here, don't hurt yourself, don't harm yourself, be nice to yourself. That's the most important thing for today. But what we are going to do together, we are going to generate some stress, physical stress, by clenching our fist slowly. Build the pressure slowly. You don't need to put it in front of the screen. You can put it down if you like. And build the pressure slowly, slowly. Now, what I would ask you to do is to pay attention to the pressure in your fist, your palm, your hand, maybe your shoulder, maybe radiates a little bit to the rest of the body. Keep building the pressure. Don't think about it. Try to sense the pressure, to feel it, to experience the pressure. And breathe in and out. Feel the pressure, the stress. Now we are going to release the stress very gradually so that you sense the process, the unfolding process. So slowly start opening your fist, slowly, and feel how there is a reduction in the physical stress in your body. Slowly, you open your hand. Very simple exercise. And again, let's take just 3 breaths. 1, 2, and 3. And you may look around in the space you are, where you are, and note in your mind what you see. Ground yourself. I see fax machine, my desk, a window, a painting, books. I'm here, present. So that was our first simple exercise. Now, before we move on, I will pass it to you, Lauren, and see if we got anything, any responses in the chat box.
Yeah, we got a lot of incredible responses. Quite a few people said exercise, walking in the neighborhood, writing, being outside, mindfulness. Someone mentioned that they started a garden with potted plants from Home Depot. Meditation, walking, exercise, petting our cats, being with my husband, yoga, yard work, knitting, podcast listening, TV, streaming, prayer, meditation, and reading audiobooks, playing instruments, watching jazz at Lincoln Center performances online. And someone said painting, saying prayers, writing and journal, lots of cooking, walking, reading Jewish books.
Good, thank you, Lauren.
Yeah.
Thank you. So lots of ways to work on reducing our stress. Good, so what we're going to, so let's keep going here with the workshop. Many things we can do to reduce the stress, but today we're also going to explore another dimension, which is the mindful dimension. How we are going to add mindfulness to the different activities that you are already beautifully engaging in. So, so mindfulness is definitely a buzzword these days, but what is it exactly? So mindfulness, it's about cultivating a special state of mind where we try to slow down, to concentrate, to reflect, to unplug, to restart. Mindfulness is really about embodiment, and which means to connect to our body. Especially at times where you find yourself worrying, you can see how you kind of take a break from your body. So mindfulness is about embodiment. And the connection in mindfulness is mostly to our breath and to our spirit. So I'm sure that many of you know that the origin of the word spirit, it comes from the Latin. Spirit means breath. And then in Hebrew, of course, neshima, neshama. So it's about connecting to our breath. So in Genesis 2:7, chapter 2, verse 7, it is written, the divine formed humans from dust of the earth, blowing into their nostrils the breathing of life, and humans became living beings. So mindfulness is about generating a mind state in which we bring attention to our present experiences. We are trying to avoid judgment. A lot of times in our mind, we judge everything we see, we fall into that place. So we are just trying instead to observe what we are experiencing. So now, let's engage in a longer period of a mindfulness exercise. And we're going, again, a very simple exercise, which is called conscious breathing. That's what we're going to do now. So a couple of instructions before we start. During this exercise, you are welcome to sit. I'm going to sit here in my chair. You're welcome to sit. If you'd like, you can lie down. You can also stand. We're going to do the conscious breathing in stillness. If you find it difficult, don't hesitate to do gentle movements. If you like yoga or qigong, you may also pray if that's your practice. Read Psalms. We're trying to bring mindfulness to whatever we do. I would recommend, if you have your cameras on, to leave them on. It just works better when it comes to accountability. But if you feel that you want to turn them off, that's definitely okay. And we are going to start basically just by grounding ourselves in our seats and bring attention to our breathing. Just sit comfortably in your chair, unclench your body. Try to have a dignified posture. Erected head, not rigid. Drop your shoulders. Ground your feet on the floor. Feel your seat bones making contact with the chair, with the couch, with the sofa. If you feel comfortable, you may shut your eyes. If not, you can just gaze downwards, softly gaze downwards. Your palms can be next to you, or you can just place them gently in your lap. And now bring your awareness to your breathing. Pay attention to the air flowing through the nostrils, the tip of your nose, into your body, inflating the belly. Breathe down into the belly, and then breathing out. The air goes out from your body, deflating the belly. And again, breathing in, breathing out. Rising and falling. You can pay attention to the switching between the in-breath and the out-breath. Pay attention to the pause between the out-breath and the new in-breath. Just pay attention to the flow. Engage in observing the cycle of life. Don't try to manipulate your breath. There is no need. Just observe it. Breathing is something the body does all the time, 24/7. If you are engaged in other kind of activities right now, such as gentle movements, praying, reading Psalms, just engaged in them fully. Pay attention to the activity as well as to your breathing. Be present. Our hearts are pumping blood into our lungs. They'll get filled with air, and fresh oxygen is being brought into our bodies. Continue with a short period of silence. if you have any kind of thoughts coming into your mind, that's normal. We're not going to stop our mind from thinking. That's what makes us human. We're going to gently go back to the breath, a little bit like when we are taking care of a little toddler or a little puppy, going back to the breath. And in a couple of moments, we will bring this brief exercise to an end. When you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes. If you need to stretch, get back to the space, to the room. So that was an exercise in mindfulness, nothing esoteric as you see, just with helping us with bringing calmness to our body. So most of you probably heard the recommendations made to protect our mental health during the pandemic. So let's go over some of them. So the first one, you probably heard that, to decrease the quantity and monitor the quality of the information that we consume during any given day. Consumption of, what I mean is consumption of news feeds and social media. Second recommendation, to direct our attention to matters other than the current health crisis, to cook, to dance, to sing, to read, to play board games and play cards, listen to music, maybe learn a new hobby, take online classes, and all the beautiful activities that all participants share in the chat box. And a third recommendation is to arrange a daily and a weekly schedule. So really to get up in the morning, dress up, try not to stay in PJs throughout the day. The fourth recommendation is to maintain social distance, which is very important, but it doesn't mean that we are going to engage in social isolation. So that's an important one. And the fact that all of you are here today means that you really take it into consideration. Connecting with friends and family using technology like Zoom technology, or even just the old-fashioned friend or phone. There are many suggestions, but those are the suggestions I choose to share with you today. The last one has to do with cultivating gratitude, thankfulness, just for simple things in our life. Looking out through your window at the blue sky, having gratitude for looking at night at the moon, listening to the birds, having a bite of a piece of fruit, just the little things. So now, based on this last advice, let's get into our next exercise. So this is an exercise in which we are going to cultivate two things. One has to do with trust. We're going to cultivate trust. And the other one has to do with cultivating gratitude. We're going to direct our mind so that we can get into those places of healing. When I'm saying trust, I'm talking about acknowledging that things are good right now and everything will be all right. So when we look in the Bible, in Exodus chapter 3, verse 14-15, there is the beautiful narrative of Moses, and he wanders in the desert, and he meets the divine, and they have a dialogue. So Moses asks, when I go back to Egypt, and I come to the Israelites, and I say to them, the God of your fathers and mothers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is this God's name? So they want to know what's the name, what's the label, what's the name? He continues, what shall I say to them? So the divine replies to Moses, tell them that I am that I am. Tell them that I am sent you to them. In the Hebrew is Eheye. I am that I am. So this is one of my favorite dialogues in the Bible. And the divine is represented here as a process, unfolding process. And we, as we go through life, have to adapt to the process. And more than that, we have to trust the process. So let's go now into the exercise again. Find a comfortable position. You can sit, stand, lie down. If you don't want your video on, you can turn it off. And let's engage in another exercise. So we always start by positioning ourselves in a dignified posture. If you sit, you want to have your feet on the floor, your hands on your lap. And we always bring attention to our breathing. Sometimes throughout the day, when we encounter something really, really stressful, it helps to breathe 3 times before we react, or better say respond. So always connecting to the breath. That's how we start. So we are now going to meditate on trusting the process, the unfolding process of life. There is good and there is bad. That's life. Rabbi Nachman of Breslev taught us that we all walk in life on a very narrow bridge. The most important thing is not to be afraid. Just bring awareness to your breathing. To your body. You might have all kinds of thoughts. That's fine. It's the way the mind works. Trusting the process. Now let's switch to gratitude. Thankfulness. So in the Jewish tradition, every morning when we get up, when we open our eyes, we say thank you. Modeh ani, thank you. Another day. The sun is shining, another day ahead of us. We are thankful for the little things, our breath, enjoying breathing in and out, our bodies. We have 10 fingers, we can walk, we can talk, we can look up to the sky. Just the little things. Go back to your breathing. Ground yourself in the moment. And now, it's easier with closed eyes. I would like to ask you to bring to your mind a beloved, dear being. It can be a person, it can be a pet, it can be family member, a friend, colleague, a professional, someone from the past, from the very distant past, someone from the present. Bring their image to your mind. Have the image in the mind. You are thankful for having this being, this person or pet in your life, in your mind. Cultivate thankfulness. You may have more than one if you'd like. You can simply, gently smile to yourself. Not a big smile, just a little smile. Actually, it helps with reducing tension in the face. Believe it or not, there is research about it. We have a lot, hundreds and hundreds of muscles in the face. So when we smile a little bit, it releases the tension. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and just get back to the room if you need to stretch, to stand up. Get a little bit of water. Good. So, I hope you're enjoying the exercises, and we are slowly bringing our workshop to a close. And before we open our study class, this morning to questions and comments, I would like to invite you to our last exercise. The last exercise that we are going to engage in is an exercise that has to do with mindful sound. So in the Jewish tradition, there is a collective practice that is called nigun, which is humming together in a group a music. So in a moment, I'm going to start a nigun, humming a nigun. Some of you know the nigun. Some of you, maybe you don't know the nigun. So just listen to the nigun. Listen to the sound. Again, pay attention to your breathing, to your body, be present. You can lie down, sit. Again, feel free, just feel comfortable. That's what's important. If you'd like, you listen. If you want to be more active, you can join me. We are not going to unmute you, but you can join me and listen to your voices and pay attention to your body generating sound. And it invites us to pay attention. You know, sometimes when we listen to music, we again think about all kinds of stuff and we forget to engage in listening to music, in making music. So I'm going to start. Nai, nai, nai. Nai, 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 na, na, nai. Ya, na, 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 nai. Ya, nai, nai, nai. Ya, nai, nai. Ya, nai, nai, na, na, nai. Ya, na, 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 nai. Ya, nai, nai, nai. Ya, na, na, nai. Ya, nai, nai, na, na, nai. Ya, nai, nai, na, nai. Ya, nai, nai, nai. Ya, na, na, nai. Ya, na, nai, na, 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 nai. Ya, na, 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 na. Ya, nai, nai, nai. Ozi vezimatya vayei lilishua. עוזי וזמרתיה ויהי לי לישועה. עוזי וזמרתיה ויהי לי לישועה. Nine, 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 ya nine, 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 ya nine, nine, nine. So thank you all. Now it will be the time for questions and comments. So I'm going to pass it to Lauren, and she's going to explain you how we're going to do that. So again, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Oded. That was wonderful. Thank you. And we're so appreciative of you, especially at this time. I think that what you are offering for us is needed, as you said, now more than ever. So I just want to again say how grateful we are for you. Thank you so much. And so now is an opportunity to ask any questions you might have for Oded. As I talked about at the beginning of the program, there are a couple different ways that we can do that. So one is you can include your question or comment in the chat function, which I can then present to Oded. You also have the option to raise your hand, and then I will unmute you and you can ask or make your comment directly. And so we do have one question so far. Someone asked, how can I get my teenage child to relax and not be stressed, missing her friends, feeling isolated?
Yes, that's an excellent question. And I can share with you, well, I have a young adult now, turned 18 at home. But I think that it can be challenging, and we want to be creative when it comes to teenagers, when it comes actually to children. Now, especially, I think that the generation of youngsters, they need mindfulness more than ever. Before COVID, they're all the time on their gadgets and technology. So that's why mindfulness, which is actually a spiritual practice, became so popular. So what I would suggest is not to try to push them hard into sitting for a sitting meditation, but just to see if you can invite them to any kind of activity where they can concentrate. So what comes to my mind, something that I miss these days, I like to play tennis. Tennis is my meditation. When I play tennis, I can think about my work and my life and who knows what, or I can really focus on the tennis game, on hitting the ball, on watching the ball, on feeling the air in my face, and so forth. So with young teenagers, it's going to be challenging. We can be role models to them, touch and go, very challenging. So I hope this is kind of satisfying. I'm trying to be direct and give good answers, but at the end of the day, I'm a psychologist, so psychologists never give good answers, right? So I hope this is helpful.
That's wonderful. And then somebody asked if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your background and how you became involved in meditation specifically.
Sure. So my background is I moved to the States in about more than 20 years ago to study clinical psychology. And I went to a professional school that emphasized clinical work, not necessarily research. So in that school, we had opportunities to engage in different kind of activities such as meditation, Qigong, yoga, and so forth. There are other things. And I realized that it is really, really helpful. So believe it or not, here in San Diego, we have a monastery of a very famous Zen teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh. So I went to the monastery and slowly worked on getting better at meditation. And then when the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, when they opened a program where they teach mindfulness, and they show how mindfulness is really embedded in the Jewish text, I felt that this is like home. My wife always tells me, you don't need to study Buddhism. Of course, if you want to study Buddhism, you have to be proficient. If you really want to study it, you want to be proficient in Pali and Sanskrit. But with Torah, and growing up in Israel, that's what I learned in school, elementary school. So I like to bring together the Jewish tradition and the practice of mindfulness. And of course, more psychology and research. There is a lot of research in psychology. It's very big now, mindfulness in psychology, actually. Very, very big now. So I hope this is kind of answering the question.
Great. And then we have another really great question about how many times a day should we practice meditation in order to have muscle memory in times of acute stress? And this person made the comment that it can be difficult at times when we must accept our sadness as part of growth without judgment.
Yes, beautiful question. So we are talking today mindfulness, and what I invited you today to do was to bring your awareness to whatever you do. So mindfulness is nothing esoteric. Mindfulness is bringing our awareness throughout the day to our activities, to our dialogues, to whatever we do. And we can get better at our mindfulness capabilities, a little bit like going to the gym. I know that right now gyms are closed. My son, right away before the quarantine started, we ran to a sports store to buy him weights. So he works out in the garage. He's getting kind of buffed and strong. So the same thing, if you practice, if you engage in exercises throughout the day, you're going to be better at it. You're going to have to develop stronger ability to be mindful. So here actually, it's nice also to reflect on our tradition when it comes to prayer, the connection with the divine. It is done 3 times a day in the Jewish tradition. So again, I don't want to be rigid with anything, but the more you bring in meditation or yoga or qigong, formal practice to your life, you'll get better at it. Like anything you do, really, any hobby, any activity, anything you learn. Some people say maybe in the morning you want to do some, before we start the day, instead of right away go and open the TV and the news, maybe you want to engage in some activity that brings you, that helps you with grounding yourself. So I hope that's helpful. Yeah.
That's amazing. And somebody also asked, are there resources we can access while at home about the connection of Jewish tradition and mindfulness?
Yes, definitely. So there are a couple of organizations out there. 2 are here in the States. There is one in Israel. There are more, but 3 that I am affiliated with who teach Jewish mindfulness. There is a book that I can recommend by one of my teachers, Rabbi Jeff Roth. It's called Jewish Meditation Practices for Everyday Life. And then there are the websites. So what I suggest is that I will get back to you, Lauren, with a resource sheet. And then I know that you send an email out to all participants. So I will have a resource sheet with the different organizations. They have a lot of guided meditation on their websites, and you can sign it. You can actually sign up. That's something that I would like to maybe suggest through the Institute for Jewish Spirituality. They're in New York. They offer, if you go on their website, they offer every day from Pacific time, from 9:30 to 10, Jewish mindfulness. It's really nice because Rabbi Mark Margolis, he invites different teachers. So every day it's a different teacher. And they provide that for free for everyone around the world. And they have good responses. I think about 200 participants every morning. So, but I'll get back to you, Lauren, with all the resources, and then you can email it to the participants in this.
Yes, and so that will go out by tomorrow morning at the latest. And as somebody actually just asked, we will also include a link to the recorded session, which Oded was very wonderful and let us record this today. So this is something that hopefully you can continue to use throughout your weeks and months and refer back to for your own meditation practices, which is incredible. We also have another question: how to use mindfulness and meditation to overcome grief?
So again, a very good question. So with mindfulness, the idea is that we are tuning into our experience. And when we live life, some of our experiences are unpleasant. So when we grieve, when we go through a very difficult times, sometimes it's going very hard to meditate and to tune in. We need to tune out. So first, if you are experiencing any kind of intense emotions, I would recommend maybe searching for professional help, someone you trust or a good friend, or to take care of the intense feelings. But the idea of mindfulness is that it helps us with processing whatever we are experiencing. So I can give you an example that is from my life. I don't know, about 15 years ago, I wanted to run a marathon. It's kind of tough. Everybody told me, you're going to hit the wall. I said, what wall? What are you talking about? The wall. So after 20 miles, you basically hit a wall. It's true. I called my wife. I said, hey, listen, I have like 6 more miles. I'll be there in half an hour. It took me 2 more hours. I was completely exhausted. So I remember when I studied and I learned and I worked with some coaches, they told me that you can tune in or tune out. So mindfulness is really a form of tuning in. So we want to be respectful to our mind and process whatever is going on in our mind, experiencing it. And then it helps us with letting go. So I don't know if that's helpful. That's a very, very good question, but also it's a difficult question. And unfortunately, I hope, Lauren, that maybe when this COVID situation is over, we can offer this class in person. So because it's easier for me when I have a dialogue with the participants. So I hope that's helpful. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that would be incredible. And I do think that, under the circumstances, I am so glad that we have this opportunity to offer this virtually, but under ideal circumstances, this would be an incredible opportunity for us to experience together in the same place. So I truly believe that we will be able to have that soon enough at the JCC, and I look forward to that day. And we do have a couple more minutes for if people have some other last questions, or again, if you would like to have me unmute you so that you can ask Oded directly. I think I have actually one question that I would like to ask. What would be your advice for maybe people who you feel would benefit from something like meditation, from mindfulness, but are resistant to it because the idea of that the calmness that is often associated with meditation and being still and grounding and being with oneself is very nerve-wracking. So what would be your advice for somebody who you think could really benefit from the exercises of meditation, but is scared to start that journey?
That's a great question, Lauren. And many on the call, they know me, and they know that I'm married to Galit. Galit is, so if I sit here in stillness, Galit is a drumming facilitator. So what I'm going to say is that, listen, it's really, you're not going to do it if you're not going to enjoy it. It's a little bit like, the issue with gyms. Sometimes, at the beginning of the year, people buy memberships, and then they don't go because they just kind of feel that it's not, they get bored. So you want to engage in something that you like. I can sit quietly and kind of observe my mind. That's why I went to study psychology, right? But for many people, it's hard to sit and without moving. It's really, really hard. So first, you can do just very short segments, but then you can also bring it to any kind of activity. As I said, playing tennis, but drumming. Just before COVID, I went with Galit on a wonderful, she went on for a drumming conference in Arizona. So I went with her, it was on a weekend, and I participated in some of the drumming circles. So it's all about drumming and really being present. So that's basically mindfulness. So we can bring mindfulness to dancing, to cooking, to even washing the dishes, to anything. It's about being present. So again, my way is always to make the suggestion in a gentle way, not to force anyone, like, old-fashioned monasteries where you sit down and if you fall asleep, you get snapped or something like that. I say, we want to do it in a way that brings us comfort. So I hope this is kind of helpful, Lauren.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that response.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And if there are any other questions, but if not, I wanted to again take this opportunity to say thank you so much to Oded. And like he said, I look forward to having the opportunity to bring him back, maybe virtually, but definitely in person at the JCC. We look forward to that opportunity because I think that this is such a great experience that even once we are at some point away from all of this COVID-19 madness, that still we will need this comfort and this community. So once again, I want to say thank you so much, and thank you to all of you for being here today. And we hope that this was a really wonderful opportunity to just kind of stop and breathe and connect with oneself during a really difficult and unprecedented time. So thankful for Oded and thankful for all of you today.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you everyone for participating.
All right. And everyone have a wonderful rest of your day and your week and your weekend. And we look forward to seeing you again with the JCC. All right. Bye-bye.